Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And I will attempt to share the screen. Okay, where are you? Way over there. Interesting. Didn't quite work right. Let's try again here. A little trouble sharing the screen. There we go. Strange. So, I should say first topic. Is that what you have, Dohadeva? First topic?
Yes, Bodhinatha.
Okay, we managed to do that. And it's our last session on Hindu Tools for Success from Ancient History, 2009, Malaysia. We have one more tool today. Last tool. Sixth and last tool is the tool of steadfastness. It is the sixth of the 10 basic restraints called yamas. And of course we know yamas and niyamas are in Hinduism's, what is Hinduism, chapter 42, and we have a whole book on it. Yoga's Forgotten Foundation, as well as it's in Living with Shiva, same material. Sanskrit term is dhriti, meaning foster steadfastness, overcoming non-perseverance, fear, indecision, and changeableness. The instinctive quality we are harnessing is the tendency not to stick to what we start. Common challenge. Example. We suffer from chronic back pain. We go to a physical therapist and he gives us some exercises to do. We do them for 1 month, then stop. A few months later, we go to an Ayurvedic doctor and he suggests some herbs. We manage to take these for 2 months before stopping. 6 months later, we go to another physician and he suggests a still different remedy. You get the idea. Of course, the man still has the back pain. No progress had been made due to lack of steadfastness. This happens in Hinduism as well. We visit one Swami and he suggests we chant a mantra. We do this for a few months and stop. We visit another Swami a year later and he suggests meditating on the inner light. We do this for a while and stop. This, of course, produces no tangible progress in our spiritual life due to lack of perseverance. Gurudeva's comment. The spiritual path is a long, enduring process. It does not reach fruition in a year or 2 years. We can all vouch for that. Spiritual path brings lots of ups and downs, and the greatest challenges will come to the greatest souls. With this in mind, it becomes clear that steadiness and perseverance, underlined, are absolutely essential on the spiritual path. Tudukuro, chapter on this subject, chapter 62, verse 612. Beware of leaving any work undone, remembering that the world abandons those who abandon their work unfinished. The Choral chapter states that perseverance creates prosperity, the ability to overcome misfortune, to be generous and charitable. It also states that lack of perseverance brings shame, abandonment, and misfortune. One of Gurudeva's own Mahavakya, or great sayings, applies here as well. Consistency is the key to conquest of karma. Some common reasons for non-perseverance. Common reason for non-perseverance with an undertaking is that the original decision was an emotional whim rather than a well-thought-through plan. Example. We have lunch with a colleague at work who shares with us how he purchased a second home and is renting it out and earning excellent extra income, enough to take his family on pilgrimage to India last month. You think this idea is great, and wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to take your family on pilgrimage to India as well? You immediately purchase a second home and rent it out. After a year, you realize the price you paid was too high and you are earning less than the cost of the home, and the enterprise is actually lowering your savings for the pilgrimage rather than increasing it. Therefore, you have to sell the house and incur a loss. What went wrong? The initial decision was flawed as it was based on a passing emotion rather than a well-conceived plan. This problem can be avoided by taking time to make decisions. Second reason for lacking steadfastness is that we embarked on the endeavor without a clear purpose. For example, our best friend starts to study Bharatanatyam, so we start as well. After 5 months, we conclude this is too much work and give it up. Our reason for pursuing it was not solid enough. The fact that our best friend took it up. To stick to an undertaking, we need for it to be meaningful to our life, not to someone else's. Third reason, problem of changeableness. Changeableness means indecision, not being decisive. How can we discriminate between this and the strength of a person who changes his mind in wisdom because of changes of circumstance? A person who is changeable is fickle and unsure of himself, changing without purpose or reason. Driti, steadfastness, describes the mind that is willing to change for mature reasons based on new information but holds steady to its determinations through thick and thin in the absence of such good reasons. Its decisions are based on wise discrimination. Having made a solid decision in the first place, only reconsider it in light of new information. Fourth reason, lots of reasons, not using enough willpower. Nandinada Sutra states, Shiva's devotees, by remaining steadfast on the path, upholding yamas and niyamas, and relying on their indomitable will, move the forces of the world and are not moved or affected by them. What does Gurudeva mean by an indomitable will? Willpower, as we know, is channeling the rarefied energies of the body of awareness itself into attention and concentration upon everything that we do through the day. How can this be cultivated? Gurudeva gives us a key in merging with Shiva. Willpower can be cultivated by finishing and doing well every task that we undertake. In fact, done a little better than our expectations. First, finish each task. Second, do it well. Nothing is done with half our mind thinking about something else. Nothing is dropped in the middle. Developing these two important habits produces an indomitable willpower. And this point is a good one on the relationship between inner striving and outer accomplishment. Many individuals don't think of them as separate. Many individuals think of them as separate. What we strive to do inwardly has nothing to do with what we're accomplishing in the world. But of course, that's not Gurudeva's approach. Gurudeva's approach is integrated. It's all one thing. What we do in the world affects how well we can do in our meditation. What we do in our meditation affects how well we can do things in the world. So in this case, it's a very simple assignment. Finish each task. Everyone knows if they finished a task or not. Second, do it well. We know if we did it well or not. So it's a very objective standard of measurement. When you sit to meditate, you could be asked, well, how well did you control your thoughts? Very subjective. But this is easy. So Gurudeva says, finish it, do it well. In fact, do it even a little better than you have to. So I just did that one already. Oh, I have a fifth reason. This is really thorough. Fifth reason for not persevering is setting the goal too high. Therefore, we do not achieve it in a reasonable period of time and give up. Here's an example. A sincere seeker sets the goal of realizing the self in 3 years. First year practicing charya, second year focusing on kriya, third year mastering yoga, and at the end of the third year, he will become a jnani through self-realization. This, of course, is not realistic. Such an approach can cause the seeker to give up the spiritual path altogether. Therefore, be sure to be realistic in the goals you set. Be sure to ask others knowledgeable in that field if your goal is realistic before you finalize the goal. And a sixth one. Sixth and last reason for not persevering is encountering obstacles. There's a false concept held by some that if my endeavor encounters an obstacle, then Lord Ganesha is telling me what I am pursuing is not the right course of action. I should stop trying and rethink the entire project. Gurudeva's teaching is that the more ambitious a project is, the more obstacles will be encountered. Therefore, if your goal is an ambitious one, before you can even start, anticipate encountering significant obstacles. And when you do, you were already expecting them and therefore are not discouraged. When I give examples, the example I give is Iravan Temple. Talk about obstacles. I think the biggest one was when we sent the Silpis into the American consulate in Chennai and they were refused their visas. This was many years ago. So we had to regroup and we didn't panic. And turns out the immigration was rewriting the rules regarding the R1 and there was confusion as to what rules existed at that point in time. So we went to an expert immigration attorney in Washington, D.C., found all this out and with her help sorted it out and the Silpis got their visas. So we didn't give up. Otherwise, you'd never see Iravan Temple this far along. So the more ambitious a goal, the more obstacles you will encounter, and wisdom is to expect them in advance. Therefore, you're not discouraged when they happen. Now, another sutra that covers many of these points we just have looked at. Shiva's devotees approach each enterprise with deliberate thoughtfulness and act only after careful consideration. They succeed in every undertaking by having a clear purpose, a wise plan, persistence, and push. And then in some of Gurudeva's writings, he adds, and initiating it with a prayer. So purpose, plan, persistence, push, and prayer are the 5 Ps for being successful. Oh, we have a story about Vastu. Oh, this one was back in 2009, when happening in Malaysia. At that time, New trend in Hindu communities around the world is the widespread, one could even say faddish, application of the principles of the ancient Hindu science of Vastu to the design of businesses and homes. Vastu has always been used in the construction of Hindu temples and in village home design. In theory, the widened use of Vastu in the Hindu community and beyond is a positive development. Vastu unfolds the scientific principles and models of spiritual art and architecture to yield a harmonious flow of energy in the physical environment, giving rise to good health, wealth, intelligence, happiness, and attunement with the wider universe. Oh, that's a nice statement, yielding a harmonious flow of energy in the physical environment. We have a house at the corner of two streets that we drive by. When we go out to town, one street's very busy and then our street is less busy. But it's constantly cars going by both directions right next to your house. And that can't be good Vastu. It can't be yielding a harmonious flow of energy, all that car activity going two different directions right next to your house. Following Vastu principles of design can certainly make businesses more successful and homes more harmonious. However, the problematic trend is to emphasize it above all else, thinking that the sole cause of obstacles and lack of success is the flawed layout of one's home or office. For example, the sales of a business drop precipitously, and a Vastu expert is consulted. He asserts that the cause is the poor layout of the space and advises, rebuild the structure according to my Vastu design and your problems will quickly disappear. We know of many Hindus who received such advice over the last few years, some who inadvisedly spent large sums of money taking down and rebuilding parts of their home or office, or moving to a new location in anticipation that this would solve all their problems. The truth is that in most cases it did not. Designing one's home and business spaces according to Vastu principles is an excellent goal. When asked, we encourage Hindus to have their new home or business designed in this way. The traditional all-granite Hankar Durvan temple we are building here in Hawaii follow the guidelines of Vastu, as interpreted by Dr. V. Ganapati Stapadi, the late and renowned. Regarding Vastu remodeling, he observes, modifications of a building, this means an existing building. If you're modifying an existing building, lead to a disturbance of energy inside the enclosed space. Hence, the Shastras do not recommend any post-construction alterations. As our modern age has created a lifestyle crisis, many architects and designers are now turning to the ancient traditions of Vastu for inspiration. Sadly, this has led to a lot of exploitation and misinterpretation. So his advice is don't remodel an existing building. Use Vastu to build something new, or to choose buying something new. My conclusion is common sense tells us there are many causes for not being successful. In my experience, the most common one is lack of proper planning. Second one, clear purpose, wise plan. So the wise plan is the part that is usually the cause for lack of success. And a challenging word here to pronounce. In the words of French author and aviator Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Very true. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So now, overall summary. What we covered in Hindu Tools for Success. All four goals of life are included: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and that is, of course, moksha in the sense of the journey toward moksha, said another way, seriously striving to make spiritual progress, generously sharing wealth with others, and in touch with inner happiness, Sahajananda. And a question for the next summary part. We covered 6 tools for success. What were they? Give you a minute. 6 is a lot. First one, ways to achieve enduring happiness. That's our toolbox. Tools to success. So 3 ways to achieve enduring happiness: meditation, devotion, and selfless service. All of them put us in touch with the same inner space within us. Sahajananda, enduring inner happiness, bliss. Affirmations. Temple worship. Giving. Learning from mistakes. And the last one was steadfastness. One of Gurudeva's messages on the 2001 Northern Europe and Russia Inner Search was about tools. The kind of tools he was talking about weren't carpentry tools or software tools or plumbing tools or gardening tools. They were, of course, spiritual tools. He was talking about spiritual tools that he had given us. The phrase he used was, "I have given you all these tools. You can either put them to use in life or hang them up on the wall. The choice is yours." Go for it, Gurudeva. Which would you prefer to do? Use them or hang them up on the wall? Well, that's the boat they were on in Northern Europe, Russia. In Gurudeva's spirit of using the tools, the idea is we don't necessarily need to learn something new to make additional spiritual progress. We don't have to necessarily acquire a new tool, learn a new technique. We can make additional progress just by utilizing more the tools we have already been given, applying them more to our life, applying them in a new way to our life. So that's Gurudeva in this room on the cruise ship. And we're wrapping up Mauritius in our second topic. This is a conclusion, author's conclusion. We saw some youth have found the essence of Hinduism in book knowledge, some in vegetarianism, some in keeping their parents happy, some in serving the soil. Youth are seekers when it comes to religion and spirituality. The youth of Mauritius are enjoying their Dharma. Many festivals here are alive and vibrant because of youth and their unhesitating efforts to make them successful. Mauritian youth don't just participate, they feel proud of their religion. Their social media full of religious content is proof of their pride. During Mahashivaratri, the island's biggest festival, because it's a public holiday, no matter what day of the week it falls on, hundreds of thousands of karwar, decorative frames carrying water pots, reach the holy pilgrimage site at Ganga Talao, and it is a known fact that 90% of the karwartis, those who visit Ganga Talao on foot carrying a karwar, are youth under the age of 25. It's a bit strenuous walking up the mountain. One will hardly find any youth who hasn't gone to Ganga Talao on foot during Mahashivaratri, taken part in Kavadi, or participated in Ganesha Visarjana on our beautiful blue beaches. Mauritius is a small but multicultural society. There is no indigenous population. All the people were brought as slaves and indentured labor by the French and English colonizers in the 17th and 18th centuries. They worked very hard to preserve their religious and cultural identity on this foreign soil. Small things normally overlooked were also given much attention, especially in religious matters. In the era before today's wealth of communication resources, our forebears kept their Dharma alive by putting their lives at risk in this foreign land. Each younger generation was taught to protect Dharma and never take religion for granted. Respecting religion and taking pride in it is the genes of our youth. Today is a tough time for youth due to pressures from a continuously changing society, so one cannot predict the future. But the present Mauritian youth are a matter of pride for Hinduism. Very nice article. Third and last topic. answering your questions sent to satsang@hindu.org. And we have 2 great questions to answer for today. Our first question is, does the Purusha have desires? Each of us is a Purusha, a soul, a divine being living in a physical body. At the deepest level, we are a pure, radiant, blissful soul. That is our spiritual or intuitive nature. We also have an instinctive nature and an intellectual nature. Gurudeva referred to man's instinctive, intellectual, and intuitive natures as the 3 phases of the mind. Understanding the 3 phases helps us understand desire. By the word phases, Gurudeva means how the mind functions, the major categories of activities that it performs. Let's look in more detail at each of these 3 phases of the mind. Instinctive mind is easy to become aware of and experience. It includes the impulses of our physical body, our cravings, our desires, our digestive system, and our emotional mechanism that works through the physical body. Systems of elimination and blood circulation and the regulation of the heartbeat are all within the instinctive mind. Gurudeva gave a simple phrase for describing what the instinctive mind desires: sex, food, money, and clothes. Very simple. Instinctive mind. Sanskrit term for the instinctive mind is manaschitta. The intellectual mind is a mixture of man's instinctive desires and cravings, coupled with the knowledge he has gained from others and from his own intuitive discoveries. The intellectual mind is concerned about intellectual knowledge and desires to acquire more knowledge, as well as desires to acquire a better understanding of what it has already learned. Sanskrit term for the intellectual mind is buddhichitta. Intuitive or superconscious phase is even more complex, more organized, more refined than the instinctive or intellectual phases. When intuitive flashes come, one knows the next thing to be done in a creative activity. It is mystically known as the mind of light, for when one is in the state of mind, he may see light within his head, and he sometimes, through the entirety of his physical body, if his inner sight is developed enough. Otherwise, he just begins to feel good all over as actinic energy permeates his nervous system. Its most refined essence is Satchit Ananda, all-knowing, omnipresent consciousness, the one transcendental, self-luminous, divine mind common to all souls. Superconscious mind desires to climb the ladder of consciousness, to experience the higher chakras. So I think that's the answer that the question is seeking. The Purusha, or the mind of the Purusha, the superconscious mind, wants to experience the higher chakras and wants to climb the ladder of consciousness. That is overriding purpose of life for someone in touch with their superconscious mind or their Purusha. Sanskrit term for the intuitive or superconscious mind is Karana Chitta. It is the mind of the Purusha, the soul. Second question, what feelings, visualizations, concepts, experiences should we be aware of, strive for, hold in our awareness while taking the flame after the puja? For instance, feeling the heat with hands, Chimuiv, seeing the light rays emanating, inhaling with the breath those rays and sending up into the highest chakras, considering the core of the flame as the core of all, Parashiva, etc. Yeah, we've got 2 question marks. Taking the flame is something we do after the puja in the temple or home shrine. The temple and home shrine relate to the theistic aspect of Saiva Siddhanta, meaning relate to God as a person, as Parameshvara when worshipping Shiva, or as another deity when worshipping a deity other than Shiva. So it's the person, the deity as a person. So Shiva as a person we call Parameshvara. So the flame relates to Parameshvara because it's in the temple. Everything in the temple is theistic. One practice is to visualize that Parameshvara is in the inner worlds connected to the flame and is sending you blessings through the flame. Therefore, with each gesture of the hands toward you, you are pulling those blessings to you from the inner worlds. Our pamphlet, Visiting a Hindu Temple, gives this description. When the priest holds the lamp in front of you after puja, pass your open hands through the flame 3 times, then lightly touching your eyes each time, try to draw the blessings into you. So saying the same thing that I was. So it's the deity's blessings are coming through the flame into you. The deity is able to see you through the flame because of the puja. It's hooked up the 3 worlds. Oh, thank you very much.